In 2008, Rhys and I met working for Bunnings, we, as couples do, start to know each other a bit more, and at some point we spent money. We spent lots of money. We decided to take a trip to the US, and that cost money. We decided to buy a new computer system, and that cost money. So at the end of it, we amassed a pretty large amount of personal debt, but that's normal for our society to be in that level of debt, to pay for something with credit and pay it back later, because you're always gonna worry about it later. And I just always remember it being a huge weight on the shoulders. Like, whatever we did, it stopped us from doing things because we always had to make sure there was enough money for this debt payment.
It's immensely frustrating to work hours and hours every week, and to think that so little this is actually going to be mine. This is all going to someone else.
Just before we got married, we made the decision with a conversation that we had with Mark about finance and giving and generosity, and just taking those first steps. And he challenged us with the word, saying it's the one spot that God actually challenges us, is to test him on this and see if he doesn't open up the floodgates of heaven.
That's where it sort of really grabbed my attention. The Bible's full of space saying, God saying, don't test me. And there's one bit where God says, do test me. And thought, we'll give it a go.
So despite the fact that we were still in massive debt, we decided to take that step, and we started giving our first 10%.
On paper, it made no sense. We didn't have the money to give the first 10%. But go with God sort of favoured us very shortly afterwards. Do you want to?
So I was speaking to a family member. I told her that we'd decided and made the decision to start giving, and she then, out of the blue, said, "Look, I've got some money sitting in my account that I don't need yet. It's just doing nothing." So she offered to pay out our personal debt, and we made an agreement after much deliberation. It took me 3 days.
3 solid days.
So I got back to her, and we actually wrote up a contract with a minimum amount that we would pay back, and we proceeded to eliminate our debt without the interest payments on top of it. It's phenomenal to think of how much money she actually saved us. And
it made things a lot easier for us, but it was just phenomenal. What was the timing between when we started giving and when this happened?
It was a very short period of time.
3 months?
It was 3 months.
That's 3 months, yeah.
So we began the path of paying out money. We're living with some relatives here in Perth, and so relatively inexpensive rent, just living out of a sort of a master bedroom out of a house. So starting to pay out that debt, and we decided to take it a step further. So we made the decision to give up our rental home, and we spent nearly 2 years living out of suitcases, going from place to place, house sitting houses and pets for people in the local Perth area. And
it came with its share of sacrifices. It's like we had to get rid of and sell or just give away most of what we owned. But it was with an end in sight, and it was exciting and fun as well to move every couple of weeks. And it was also frustrating and scary to move every couple of weeks. But it was a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice made with an end in mind.
It had a purpose, and the purpose was to get debt free.
It took us weeks to really sink in that we no longer had that weight pressing down on us.
And it was massive. When you sort of think about people who have been in prison for a time, it really felt like a weight was lifted, but it took a little while to get used to it.
we went on a holiday back to the East Coast where both our families are, and at the beginning for January 2020, and the whole time we were over there, I felt I was getting a nudge from God, and Jess said much the same thing, saying, you need to stop doing this now. You're out of debt.
Yeah.
You need to stop doing this and find a place.
Yeah,
and
we did one last sit.
We did one last sit
in February.
We found a place, and bang on the heels of finding a place, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't have found a place, we would have been either homeless or living off the generosity of our friends. So
yeah.
Jess also got that nudge from God. And
solid nudge. It was crazy.
It was a solid determination. You need to stop doing this now. We did indulge in a few simple luxuries. The first thing we did once we moved into a real house was bought a toasted sandwich machine. And that was important. We've been wanting one of those for a long time. It's the little things you don't appreciate.
Yeah.
But a lot of our success and our support when we were house sitting comes down to the family we've made to Elevate. We could not have done it without the help of several people at Elevate. Our whole Elevate family just rallied around us and supported us because they wanted to see us debt-free.
Yeah.
These guys were also debt-free or working on debt-free, and we're all sort of pulling together to support each other, and that's a huge part of the Elevate family for me.
And we're here telling our story and putting out the call. Do it. You have so much support around you, and you have God's favor.
Yeah.
He doesn't want you to be in debt. He doesn't want you to be under the burden of that level of, for lack of a better phrase, slavery.
Because the weight of that debt is crushing, and it's debilitating, and it's really hard to see a way out.
Yeah.
But it is worth working through, and even though it would seem contrary to the way we were taught, the way it started was with giving.
Yeah.
The more we gave, the more we've received, and that's not why we did it.
Yeah.
We did it as admittedly, to test God and to honour Him. But
yeah,
that's where it started.